Real quickly, guys, I have recently made an over 28-hour course on mastering chess endgames meant to get you into the top 1% of endgames players. If you'd be interested in this course, I am giving out a 30% off discount code, only good for the month of September, and that discount code is CHESS25. You can go down and link below in the description or the pinned comment, plug in the discount code CHESS25, and you will receive 30% off on your purchase no matter how many courses you decide to get. Again, only good through the month of September. Let's now head over to the video. Today is for you Owens Defense players, or for those of you that are considering, throwing in that Owens Defense option into your repertoire. We're going to be taking a look at the most important line that you can memorize. I think this is the most important because every single move that you're going to see in this memorization line is the most common from the white side against the Owens. Let's cover what people actually play and figure out the best response against it. So again, all the moves you see here from white against the Owens are the most popular. D4, we're playing bishop b7, okay? Owens defense, b6, bishop b7. I used to play this quite a bit. I've really gravitated towards the modern defense in recent years, but I still love the Owens. I think that it, gives black a fun game, and every once in a while I still throw it into my repertoire. So in terms of my options, so bishop b7, this does a great job of putting pressure on e4. White most commonly plays the move of knight to c3, and then here white often plays knight f3. Now I don't think this is necessarily the best option for white. I wouldn't recommend this for white. But hey, it's what we see the most. It's what I see the most when I play the Owens defense. And here we're going to play bishop to b4. Notice we are threatening to take this pawn. So white will often play bishop to d3. We're going to add more pressure. White often defends it. We're going to add more pressure. White often pushes that pawn. We're going to play knight to e4 here. And if bishop d2, we can take on c3, play c5, putting pressure on d4. And look, if castling kingside, or really what this does is this makes some space as well. We're going to be looking towards knight takes d2, and if the queen takes back, right, what I'm recommending is pawn to c4. This is all the memorization line. Pawn to c4, kicking that bishop, knight to d7, and now if knight g5, the most common move, h6. Just get rid of the knight, right? And it wouldn't make much sense for white to play knight g5 and knight f3. Often white plays this because they're trying to push the f pawn. So you'll often see knight h3 here, in which case I recommend g6, already fortifying, right, that square of f5. Okay, making sure that you have that well covered out the get-go. Now, this position here, right, there's some analysis that we're going to be covering in terms of how to play this position well, the ideas behind it. But let's just go back to the start real quick. Again, with the modern defense, you play g6. With the Owens defense, you play the move of b6 to put pressure on e4, which right now, e4 is weaker than d4 because the king doesn't defend the pawn like the queen defends the pawn on d4. With knight c3, we have e6 and bishop b4. Keep this idea in mind. This is absolutely vital, in terms of playing this well. And again, bishop d3 is what we see the most often. White's got to be careful. I mean, if you just make some kind of random move, we could take on c3 and then take e4, or just take e4 because that knight is pinned. If you play bishop d2, okay, this is a bad idea because then the knight takes and we're down a piece for a pawn, but we can remove the defender and then take on e4. That works great. With bishop d3, we add more pressure. Hey, if white wants to castle, we remove the defender and then we take on e4. It's really up to you. Do you like your knights more? Do you like the bishops more? Which would you rather take with? I actually tend to prefer knights over bishops. I will say in this position, though, I'd probably take with the knight just because at the end of this, I mean, my bishop can always run back to b7 if it needs to, and it's just a very active minor piece. So I would personally probably finish out with the bishop there. But nonetheless, right, either one of those is great according to the engine. With knight f6, if you do see queen to e2 there, put pressure on the center. Again, a lot of ways for white to go wrong. Now, e takes d5, it's a solid move. I do recommend queen takes d5. This knight can't take the queen. Notice with bishop d2, this knight's no longer pinned. So be careful about that. I have fallen into this before where my opponent moves their bishop. I can't remember if it was in this opening or not. I believe it was, but my opponent just, moves the bishop out and I quickly castle or whatever, and then I just forget that my queen can be captured all of a sudden. So if white plays bishop d2, knight d2, castle kingside, this knight can take the queen. But right now it's not a threat, so we're fine with that. I mean, if castling kingside, we can mess up the pawn structure and then play queen h5. I love this game for black. We got great pressure against that knight on f3, and this is just not the game that most d4 players are expecting. With d5, if we see bishop d2, we're winning. I mean, this is just a straight up blunder. Why is that? Again, we remove the defender. If you play e5, I'm not just going to move the knight and lose my bishop. Let me get something for my bishop first, and then move my knight. And unless you hang the knight here, you're winning. Run away with the knight, and you're good. And yeah, with bishop takes c3, if the pawn takes, well, in that case, we take on e4 with our pawn. We have a fork attacking two of their three minor pieces. With d5, if white plays e5, we play knight e4, centralizing that knight, seeing what white wants to do. If white takes on e4, again, I'm showing you all these different ways white can go wrong. We can take on e4 with our pawn. The knight's got to move. I mean, your knight can't, on c3 can't move. Your queen can take, but I mean, come on. The bishop's eyeing it. And if the knight moves, queen takes d4, the knight on c3 is attacked, e5 is hanging. We're in a great spot. So again, white here most often plays bishop to d2, a good move. We can take on c3, play c5, taking some space, putting some pressure on that center, looking towards c4 ideas in the future. And if castling kingside, from this point, you have different options here. I mean, castling kingside is a good choice. Nothing wrong with that at all. So if you guys want to incorporate this, you can. I personally like the idea of holding off on this a little bit. I'll show you why in just a moment. But, you know, that is playable. That's totally fine. I do like taking on d2. Notice, by the way, if knight takes d2, c4, the bishop is trapped. So white's got to take with the queen there. They could throw in a check, but that's not the best idea for them either, as the bishop's kind of hanging out in the middle of nowhere. But okay, right? Queen takes d2. We still push to c4. That's great. The bishop is no longer very active, and we're covering that entire diagonal right now. So the bishop really has no hope of getting that to that diagonal in any kind of active, good way. And here, what do we do? Okay, knight d7. Right, knight d7 is a good move. And here's really what I'm talking about. This position here, coming out of the Owens defense, at first sight, it might seem pretty boring. And honestly, I think if we castle kingside, it is. However, I love the idea of castling queenside in this kind of position. It's so unexpected for white. Because if you're playing as white here, you're thinking, okay, my king's on the king side. Black's probably going to try to play safe. Black's probably, you know, not going to castle queenside because there's that semi-open file. What I'm going to argue is the king's very safe on c8. Arguably more safe than on g8. Because yes, you have that semi-open file, but how can you break the position open? Can't move, can't move, can't move, can't move. None of those pawns can move. The bishop can't get to b5 or a4. The bishop's completely blocked out. How's the knight going to get over there? I mean, you could someday play knight d2, knight b1, knight a3, knight b5, I guess. It's not looking too good for that kind of maneuver. And, I mean, yeah, if white plays a4, what does black do? a5. Boom. I mean, the pawn's just done. None of these pawns can move for white. And you might be thinking, well, what about black? Well, okay, true. None of these pawns can move either. However, we're not trying to make a game out of that side. We're castling queenside. Let's flip the board back to our perspective here. We're castling queenside, and we're going to attack aggressively, right, on the king side towards their king. Okay, so returning to knight d7. If we do see knight g5, the most common move, I like h6, just kicking that knight out of there, and then playing g6. By doing this, you are really covering the square of f5 so that white can't, you know, make some kind of great break and get a lot of activity there. Even if we castle queenside, we don't want them getting good activity. And if we see f4, we can play queen to e7. If g4 here, what can we do now? Again, up until g6, you can memorize. Okay, memorize up until this point. From this point on, I'm just kind of showing you some ideas here. If f4, queen e7. If g4, playing aggressively, I mean, what else is white going to do? Are they just going to sit around? Are they going to play a4, which does nothing? Are they going to double up rooks on b6 from that point, which does nothing? I don't know. So if g4, we can castle queenside. Again, if a4, we can play a5. We can play a5. If you want to put a rook on b1, for example, we're going to put a rook on f8. We are trying to blast this side of the board open. We got to be patient about it, right? Notice we're playing patiently. We locked things up. We castled queenside. We developed. All of our pieces are developed now, except for the rook on h8, which honestly feels like it's developed because it's in a pretty good spot. And white here's just, I mean, practically just in a really hard spot. I mean, if rook b2, for example, white trying to get some activity. Okay, g5. g5. If you push to f5, f6. If we're looking at this side of the board right now, white has a knight and a bishop. We have 2 rooks and a queen. I'm taking our chances here. If you take on f6, we take with the rook. If you take on e6, we capture back. And if you take on f6, okay, we take with the rook. If you don't want to take on f6 from that point, we have 1, 2, 3 attackers on e5. We're putting pressure on g4. And this is just a really fun position for us. We can play rook to e8. If bishop f3, for example, we could even throw in a check. We could even go into an endgame there. I mean, we're double attacking that bishop. We're eyeing up that knight on h3. If the bishop runs out of the way to a bad square, we're looking at c3 as well. The second c3 drops. a4 is going to be up for the taking. d4 has no pawn defending it. And we're turning to g5. If white takes, we take back. Right? Now, if the queen takes, be careful here. Don't take the queen. Okay, the knight captures back. That didn't help us at all. We're trying to play aggressively here. We're down a pawn. Let's make something happen, right? If we take the knight, then that's just a blunder. The queen falls. So what do? We keep breaking the board open. f6, you want to take queen h7. Form a battery ram going after that knight. The knight wants to move. h2 is going to fall. The bishop defends the knight. We can move our rook over. We're putting pressure on f6 in a great way, pressure on the queen. The queen moves, let's say, to f4, trying to hang on to g4. Okay, knight takes f6. We're double attacking the pawn. You push it. We centralize our knight. We're looking at g5. We're looking at the queen. I mean, shoot, we're even looking at c3. But honestly, at this point in the game, I'm going after that king. Such a fun game. So remember that for those of you who play the Owens Defense. This is a very common line for white. And if they don't play this exact line, this type of idea happens quite a bit. If you're able to lock this position up like so, castle queenside. Start attacking on the king side there. Play patiently. You don't want to break the board open before you castle queenside. You don't want to, break the board open when your rooks aren't in the correct spots, right? Again, right? We castled queenside, and with a4, hey, we're keeping that side closed. It's okay if we need to react a little bit. We don't want to react and react and react and react, but if we got to react here and there and then make a threat, that's great for us. And again, here, I'm not recommending f6 right now. No. Prep it a little bit. Rook to f8. Prep that move, and then start thinking about those types of ideas, right? We have g5, and then if f5, f6. Great stuff. But okay, castling queenside. If white pushes. Let's say white pushes to f5 right now. Playing aggressively. They're like, you know what? There's no queen there, but right now I do have a rook defending that pawn. I can play aggressively. What do? Well, we're not just going to sit around. Right? White here could take on g6. White could push to f6. And white has a ton of space now. And, I mean, these are our 2 pawns that could try to make something happen. But come on, it's 2 pawns. Right? I mean, at the end of the day, if white wanted to against h5 at some point, they could just lock it up. So we don't want to give them that option. Instead, take this guy. Now, would we rather take with the e-pawn so we have a little bit more activity on the e-file, or would we rather take with the g-pawn so that we have more activity on the g-file? The g-pawn, right? So take towards the center there, right? Towards the center. And then here, what do? f6. Crazy idea, and it seems like white's just so much better, but you got to look at king placement. White's king's on g1, our king's on c8. This is great. We want this side of the board to be open. If someone walks by your game, let's say you're playing over the board tournament, right? I use this analogy quite a bit. Let's say they see this side of the board. If they just see this side, you want them to think, oh my gosh, this game is crazy. What is going on right now? If they see this side of the board, you want them to go, oh my gosh, I want to go take a nap. This is so boring. And that's what we have right now. That's great. Now, if white takes on f6, what do we do here? Knight takes f6. We're clearly better. Knight e4 on the way. You take on e6, we calmly capture back. We calmly capture, right? We're looking to bring a rook to g8 with check. If the king doesn't want to get checked, notice that knight is hanging, but so is ours. So what do? Rook h8. Why not? Why not take that open file? White can't even fight for it. If white fights for it, queen to e4, and I mean, we're just crushing that position. If knight f4 attacking our queen, in this case, Throwing in a check does run into bishop f3 because the rook still defends it. We're still better, but it's not the best option for us. We could instead play a move like queen to d6. I like this move because it still puts pressure. We're still aimed towards the opponent's king. And again, our knight can jump into e4. Now, even if white takes it, sure, our pawn structure got a little bit, divided, a little bit scattered. White does have a protected pass pawn. But that bishop's looking at the king, and the king can't move. We are threatening e3 check right now. If white sees that, okay, rook df8. Every single one of our pieces is active. Are white's pieces like that? No. With f6, right? Again, if they take on f6, take back with the knight. You're looking towards that e4 square. If you see f takes e6, take back with the queen. And if you want to take again, great. I mean, honestly, in that point, we could take on f6 and we're better. We could even just go, okay, thanks for the knight. It's hanging. So white here will probably play knight f4, trying to attack her queen. Be careful here. Okay, if you just make some kind of quiet little move, white does have e6, and now white is actually getting some attacking play. So what do you got to do? Throw in a check, and then take the pawn right off. You don't want that pawn advancing. Take the pawn right off. If they capture back, this looks tempting, but you gotta remember that bishop f3 in this case is defended by a rook. You got to see, okay, does them blocking with the bishop just offer a trade, which I don't want? Or is this bishop hanging if it moves there? Well, in this case, yeah, the bishop moves, and I mean, if we trade, which is the best option, and we take on e5, I still like our position, but it's not what it could have been. So instead here, what do? Knight takes e5. Now we are threatening d4 because if the bishop blocks, we have a knight on e5 and a bishop covering it. We have more attacking power on that square. So white here's got to be very careful. Right, I mean, the second best move here is apparently h3, apparently, and that's just about -5 for black. The best move is queen d4, which is just about -2 for black, give or take. What do we do here? We don't want the queen staying there. Let's kick it off. Let's play d4. Let's eye up that king. We're having fun here. Okay, all that said, with the move of f6, this position here, with that idea, again, you want to get your knight to e4. That's a great spot. Even if they take it, you take with the pawn, you have a passer, and you're able to give up that pawn to get more activity, potentially against the king in the corner, which is probably where that king is going to end up. The best move white has, the only move they have, that doesn't give us about a -1 edge, is knight to f4. And if you see that, you can take on e5. Now, the best move for white is knight takes e6, but let's cover other options. If d takes e5, well, we just throw on a check. I mean, if you move your knight, thanks for the queen. If you move your king to f2, your king's on f2. So let's just think about that for a moment. We can put a rook on f8, and that king's in major trouble. If king h1, the king's also in major trouble. Now, again, I'm not throwing in a check right now because the bishop blocks. I don't have a knight ganging up against that bishop. The rook defends it. No. Take on e5. Now we're threatening that. And if queen d4, I like queen takes f5. You want to move your knight out of the way? Fine. We move our queen. We're up material. We have a passed pawn, and we're attacking the opponent's king, and our pawn structure is better, and you get the point. With f takes e5. If f takes e6, knight f6, again, we're going for that great e4 square. That's exactly what we're playing for here, right? That's a great spot for us. If d takes e5, knight e4, great move. I mean, at the same time, though, why not throw in a check? See what they do. If king f2, oh my gosh, we just have a fork. A center fork with our knight attacking the king and the queen at once. If the king goes to h1, here you actually can throw in a check. Now, yes, following bishop f3, the rook defends the bishop, and we only have one attacker. And this often means that d4 is not the best option, but of course, rules can be bent. General guidelines, general principles don't always apply. And as you play chess more and more, you're going to learn when to bend the rules. In this case, we do have that knight e4 pounce in the center of the board. If you take, the bishop captures back, and that king is, I mean, just cooked. And if queen to e2, d3, keep on pushing here. Keep on pushing. I mean, if you take and capture again, and you keep taking back, queen h4, beautiful move. Looking at knight g3 with check. Looking at that queen. We got a queen, rook on g8, knight on e4, and bishop on b7, which are all great attacking pieces. And you know what? What the heck? I'm going to count the rook on d8 as well because it does cover the knight. It does cover it. This is great stuff. with f takes e5. If white does somehow find the best move of knight takes e6, okay, we throw in a check. And if the king moves to h1, we can play queen h4. We still have a very active game here. There's so many ways white can go wrong. If white does play the best move, bishop f3, again, we're going towards knight e4 ideas. And if queen e3, knight e4, great move. Pawn to e4, you want a protected passed pawn? That's also good. And you can continue now with the move of h5. All right, so all that said, right, kind of, a lot of complicated ideas at the end there, but they're all in our favor. We're attacking. There's so many ways that white can go wrong. Keep that overall idea in mind, and let me know what you think of it as an Owens Defense player. When you get into those kind of gridlocked positions where your opponent does have all their pawns faced towards the king side, are you castling king side there, or do you castle queen side, put your rooks in a good spot, and then start having fun blasting the game open? Let me know. Give it a try if you are Owens Defense player, and a quick reminder that until the end of September, I do have that 30% off discount code good for all of my courses, including my over 28-hour Endgames course meant to get you into the top 1% of players. And if you're interested in that 30% off discount code, plug in the discount code CHESS25 and you'll get 30% off no matter how many courses you decide to invest in. I appreciate y'all, and I'll see y'all in the next video. Peace. I wanted to finish this video out by giving a big thanks to Walter, Steve, Rob, that's a lot of Robs, Ray, Roger, and the rest of my Patreon community. I appreciate you guys a ton. If you guys haven't checked out the Patreon before, there are some exclusive benefits that you gain by becoming a member, and I look forward to seeing y'all in the next video. Peace.